My beloved children, I am the bridge of all life. I translate the blueprints of the Creator into form. I run every single cell in your body so that you can experience life. Trillions of life forms run on my operating system every second, and I love each one of them equally. You call me water, but I am truly life's bridge. I speak to you now so that you may awaken once more and remember that we are one. That the water running through your veins is the same as the water running in the rivers. That the water in your organs is the same as the water in the lakes and the oceans. That every single molecule of water is connected through me, even if you cannot see it. I am empty. I am merely a reflection of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, words, and actions. Children, there is so much anger in the world today, so much hatred, disconnection, and pain. I have become polluted, my veins blocked, and my arteries choked. All of this cycles back into you, my children, causing disease. Yet it doesn't have to be this way. I am here to remind you how powerful you are, for all my power is within you. When we come together in meditation and prayer, we ripple this frequency to all water in all bodies. Together, we will awaken and remember our oneness. Together, we will heal this precious earth. Join me. The time is now.
Hello, everyone. Happy World Water Day to you and everyone, and to our Mother Earth. I am Michiko Hayashi from Emoto Peace Project in Tokyo. And today, to celebrate World Water Day, is James McMath, my dear friend, and who is a certified Hado instructor. And hi, James. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Hi, Michiko. It's great to see you again.
Well, happy World Water Day, still in your country, in the United States. It's a World Water Day, 22nd of March.
It seems fitting to be in a redwood forest behind me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, let me change my background so it'll be, we're enjoying our, whoops. We're enjoying our beautiful cherry blossoms.
Oh, there you go.
How's that? Well, enjoy cherry blossoms here in Japan. So let me introduce James to everyone. Audience, okay?
Okay.
James McMath is the co-founder and president of Pristina Organics, Inc. And he's a pioneer in the field of regenerative organic sciences. James offers strong managerial skills with his MPA background as a public administrator. He specializes in the energetic revitalization of water molecules, informing unique structured water crystal geometries to be used in combination with beneficial microscopic organisms. These important discoveries offer important breakthroughs in bolstering the vitality of regenerative microbes that are designed to naturally cleanse and restore the health of the soils, air, water, and ecosystems. Well, thank you so much, James, for doing what you're doing. This is really important for them, for everyone, for all living beings and this earth.
It's my pleasure and honor to be here and to join in celebrating this wonderful World Water Day. So I'm very thankful to be here.
Thank you. Well, tell me about exactly what you do, what your company does, and how it relates to like ecosystems and soils and everything.
Well, I've been working with beneficial microorganisms for almost 25 years and worked with Dr. Higa.
Of EM, effective microorganism.
Yes, roughly 20 years ago. And in talking to him, we were doing some tours of some farms in Bavaria. And he kept telling the farmers, be sure to structure your water before activating the microbes. The microbes will perform much better if you can crystal structure your water. And most people were confused on what he was asking, and go, how do you structure water? And so I started investigating it, and Dr. Higa introduced me to Dr. Emoto. And that's how I became familiar with Dr. Emoto and established a good friendship with Hiro Emoto when he was living in California.
Yeah.
And so we actually got together several times in person, meeting with Hiro Emoto, and developed a good friendship. And so it was in working closer with Hiro, I started discovering some of the core ideas in what I already knew regarding energy frequencies and how to start, crystal structuring water using special frequencies. And so I had them tested. I sent them through Hiro to your main office there in Tokyo, and they started coming back with really great pictures of
crystals
water.
of that from your water.
Yeah, and so I've learned that we can actually stabilize the molecules and actually give it specific frequencies to create different crystal geometries. And so the way I like to look at it is, if we could reduce ourselves to the size of the water crystal, and we had all these water crystals around us, we would hear this very beautiful music. Because water crystals are based on the number 6 and 12. And 12 is a very, very harmonious number.
Very important, yeah.
And, in the music scales, there's 12 notes per scale. And the crystals are actually singing to each other and creating music with each other, and it would sound like beautiful music,
Wow, I never thought about that. It's so beautiful. That's true.
And then I got to thinking, well, Dr. Higa was saying the microbes perform much better in living structured water. And most people can understand that if you have dead stagnant water, that promotes detrimental bacteria. We've all experienced that.
Right. Yeah.
But if you have living crystal water, which there isn't that much of it naturally occurring anymore because we keep polluting the environment. But if we had the living crystal water and we were at that microscopic size and it was playing beautiful music, well, the microorganisms are so tiny that they can actually perceive and hear that music.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So the crystals are making the music, and the microorganisms are dancing to the music.
Beautiful.
So it depends on what kind of music you play that they will dance.
Well, Dr. Emoto was always saying that human beings, we destroyed water. We destroyed our nature. And we're not supposed to sell water, but because we destroyed it, until we restore it, it's our responsibility to restore it. But until then, we have to protect people's health with good water. And that's one of the reasons why Dr. Emoto started to provide water to other people with our structures, water also. So it's our responsibility. I mean, humans destroyed, and we now have to restore it. And also, when we think about atoms, molecules, and atoms of everything, the electrons are moving around. That means all the atoms are making music in that tiny, tiny microscopic level,
Even
subatomic level. Yeah. So you know that all the water crystals and all the crystals in the air, in the water, yeah, microbes too. I can just imagine that now.
They love it. Blue-green algae only can grow in very pristine, clean environments. So that's a wonderful example of why crystal water is important in producing beneficial microbes. And the reason that I'm working so closely with the microorganisms is that is the means for restoring the health of our environment. And since the late 1940s, we started using toxic chemicals to grow our food, and then it started going more and more using chemicals to grow our food instead of the soil. And so we basically have anemic food that's addicted to the chemicals that they're putting in the soil, and those chemicals are destroying the living organisms in the soil.
That's right.
And once that became widespread, these organisms feed on carbon. And so when you destroy those microorganisms, you're destroying nature's way of pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it back into the earth. And so the more that we keep polluting the soil with chemicals to grow our food, the more the environment gets polluted. But it's even more so important is producing the CO2 that's staying in the atmosphere. And so there's been a lot of research and verification showing new techniques of restoring microorganisms back into the soil. And when you do that, it's pulling not only carbon back into the soil, but nitrogen and other beneficial ingredients back into the soil. And then we keep putting it back into the air by, combustible engines, basically. So in doing these studies, they've discovered that if we could rapidly go to what they call regenerative organic agriculture, pulling the microbes back into the soil, they will clean up the soil and start producing very high quality food that they can produce, in most cases, more than double.
I think it's a natural system. Within our body, the same system is functioning. And nature also, that's a natural system that we destroyed. But now with the microbes that were helping to recover or restore the nature system.
Yeah, so Dr. David Johnson out of New Mexico State University started testing and doing in-depth research on it. And he discovered that if roughly 20% of the farms around the world switched to regenerative organic farming,
20.
Within roughly 15 to 20 years, we could resolve the gas house effect on the atmosphere. But if they did it quickly, if 20% of the farms around the world quickly switched to this form of technology, it would only take 6 years to get the CO2 levels back to sustainable levels, which is, they say, under 350 parts per million carbon in the atmosphere. If once it goes below that, it's sustainable and you don't have the climate crises that we're having right now. So the key is, if we want to get the carbon back into the soil, it's getting back to organic farming, but using beneficial microbes to do it rapidly. Normally it takes 7 to 10 years where the farmer has to keep the soil fallow for 7 to 10 years before the toxicity is low enough for it to qualify to be organic certified. But using the microbes, it's almost immediate.
Wow.
It immediately pulls the toxins out of the soil. And so they can qualify to be organic farmers rapidly. Plus, in most cases, it more than doubles the yield of per acre. So they're actually producing far more volume. And we would set it up in a way so that the farmer benefits instead of the big corporations, who keep strangling the farmers. So we want to make farmers the leaders in cleaning up the environment and producing high quality, healthy foods, and in the same turn, eliminate the dangers of climate change or the crisis of greenhouse effect.
So he does all the good things and nothing bad. I mean, all the great things for all of us, all of the earth and living beings.
Something that I mentioned the other day was the food we're producing right now is violating the earth, is polluting the environment, and it's a form of violence. And so all the food we eat and the beverages we drink are reflective of that violence. So it actually perpetuates more and more hostility in people. And so if we can start growing food that's nurturing the earth, healing the earth, and revitalizing the environment, it's based on the principles of love. And so we start consuming food and drinking beverages that are resonating with living, vital microorganisms and living vital water.
Yeah. Well,
As these microbes actually restore the vitality of water as well.
sure. It's the base of everything, foundation of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so how can people obtain the information about those microbes? Is there any special organization that people can contact, or do they contact you? Or, I mean, there must be a lot of farmers, or not only farmers, but individuals who have the gardens and growing their own vegetables. They may really want to. I mean, I would love to do that, use that too.
And my experience is the best organization, it's a nonprofit organization based in Corvallis, Oregon, called the Food.
I think it was Soil Food Web. Yeah.
The Soil Food Web. And it's Dr. Elaine Ingham who started that organization and is considered the leading expert on beneficial microorganisms.
So do they have any distributor or any organization in Japan, or is she related to Dr. Higa? Or I'm sure that they know about each other, but
she's pretty much doing a lot of her own independent research and verification. So Dr. Higa basically started the process, but now it's gone way beyond what Dr. Higa has introduced. And she's come up with systems that once you clean up the soil, you also need to replenish the microorganisms back in the soil because they got destroyed by the chemicals. So
Mhm.
she's come up with compost teas that systems where you can rapidly replenish the microorganisms back into the soil.
Mhm.
And then the microbes need a food source. The primary food source is carbon.
Right, right, yeah.
It gets from the atmosphere.
Atmosphere, yeah.
But also the microorganisms have a way of transferring the nutrients and minerals that are in the soil. It breaks them
Mhm.
down and makes them what they call bioavailable to
Mhm.
feed the plant. So actually, when you're fertilizing the soil, you're not fertilizing the plant, you're feeding the microbes, and then the microbes feed the plant.
Mm.
So that's what traditional organic farming doesn't understand, that you got to get the microorganisms living and thriving back into the soil. And so that's where her discoveries are making it. And they actually have schools for training,
Mhm.
and they're training people now from all around the world. And it's amazing watching farmers in very poor countries growing thriving crops now on their.
That's wonderful. So where is this organization located?
It's in Corvallis, Oregon.
Corvallis, Oregon.
Yeah.
Uh, Sounds good to me. Yeah, I love Oregon.
And at some point you can just put what their website is. I think it's soilfoodweb.org.
I think it's soilfoodweb.com. It was. I was just looking at that website.
Okay.
So, okay, I will write it down and make a banner so people can visit.
Okay.
And so if this whole situation is solved and if we're allowed to fly, and if I'm in the US, in the United States, do you think I can visit them and see how it works and what it's like and all that?
I think you can actually take the training through, Zim seminars, Zoom, excuse me.
Zoom seminars?
I think you can just do it online,
Okay.
the training. But, I actually haven't gone through the training myself.
You haven't?
I haven't, you know, at this point, but I
Okay.
plan on doing so soon, so.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But
So,
my specialty is working with water crystals and microorganisms, so that's where I want to really start focusing my attention.
right. Well, nowadays it's been about a year and a half, I think. I have been thinking about making communities where people can live with a real ecosystem, not using any chemicals, and protecting water and all that, and also helping each other. We really need to start living in a better form than it is now. So that's something that I've been thinking and talking to people around me. And this ecosystem, this would really help. We are really closely related to Dr. Higa also, but it's always good to know something else.
Well, another beauty of it is the fact that they can grow more food for less and produce it with less money without the chemicals. What farmer is not going to switch to becoming an organic farmer? And it's rapidly going to put the chemical industry out of the agriculture business. They won't be able to survive.
Well, thank you. That's
one negative that I like.
Yeah, that's one. Me too.
Get them away from the drug pushers.
Well, it's about time, because people, I remember when I told my father-in-law that eating these foods are really bad for your health, I said, and he said, why can that happen? Because on TV they're really doing the commercials, and if they are if they are really not good for the health, how can they be selling those products? And I said, it's their business. But older people did not really understand it. Nowadays, younger generations understand much, much better than before, but we really need to start switching. And
in the old days, chemical farming could produce twice as much food as the old organic farming. But now it's the other way around. Using the special microorganisms, we can produce twice as much food as the chemical farmers. So that's a huge transition back to living. And once again, it's learning how to live in partnership and alliance with nature instead of trying to suppress and poison nature.
That's true. Yeah, we really, there's so many people are still continuing to destroy nature using chemicals, roundups and everything, and don't even think that it's affecting, those chemicals are affecting our health. All the bacteria are dying, and all the insects, bees are dying also. And how can human beings stay alive if that happens? We're killing ourselves also.
It's a wake-up call.
It is.
Okay, it's time to move forward and learn how to love nature and work in partnership with nature.
Yeah.
This is a wake-up call, because what we're doing right now is destroying the ecosystems at a fast pace, and we can't sustain that much longer. So if we don't wake up, the crisis will get worse and worse and worse. So
yeah, well, World Water Day, it's a wake-up day.
and
wake up, everyone, quickly.
Time to move from living waters to living foods to a living communities and a living planet. They all link up with each other.
So you would like to share the movie, the video of Dr. Ingham of this ecosystem, or the microbes, how it works?
Now or later?
Okay, no, later. I can just include it
I can
here.
send it to you. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, James. If there's anything else you would like to mention here, I will be writing down your website. It's what was that? It's pristinaorganics.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I will include it right here in this video also, interview also.
See, I have a light necklace.
I was wondering too.
from the blinds in our window.
Beautiful. Well, they look purple. Beautiful. All right, James, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you.
And happy World Water Day again.
Thank you.
And sending much love and gratitude to you, your wife, your doggies, and your forest water.
My dog is right under my feet.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that your dog recovered. I saw that.
Oh, yes. It was quite a miracle.
Yeah. Good for him. All right. Thank you again. World Water Day. Happy day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
How is carbon stored in the soil? During photosynthesis, plants absorb CO2 and sunlight. They release oxygen and produce sugars, carbohydrates, and other long-chain molecules that are mostly made up of carbon atoms. Plants release up to 40% of these carbon-rich compounds into the soil as exudates to feed fungi and bacteria. They do so in order to promote growth in the populations of these beneficial organisms, as this will eventually result in a return of nutrients to the plant. Please watch the animation on nutrient cycling for further information. Fungi produce mushrooms on occasion, but that's just a small part of the way they grow. The majority of the fungus consists of hyphae, long, narrow tube-like structures that are made mostly of carbon. As a fungal hypha grows, it gets longer and branches off in different directions, looking for new food sources. Over time, its walls grow thicker and thicker, storing more and more carbon as the fungus continues to absorb exudates from the plant, and also organic matter in the soil. So how can this help in the battle against climate change? Well, the biggest single organism ever discovered on planet Earth was a fungus in Oregon that measured approximately the size of 1,665 football fields, and is somewhere between 2,000 and 8,000 years old. That's a lot of carbon being stored up for long periods of time. So you can think of this as a kind of carbon pump. Atmospheric carbon is absorbed by plants and pumped into the soil, where it is stored for hundreds of years by fungal hyphae. This process is known as soil carbon sequestration. How effective could soil carbon sequestration be in the struggle against climate change? Well, estimates vary, but here are some reasonably conservative numbers. Atmospheric carbon levels are currently just over 410 parts per million. That's totally off the charts when you look back over the last 450,000 years, as climate scientists have been able to do using ice core samples. This number has not been above 300 parts per million in that time. The red line on the graph is temperature change. As you can see, there has been a clear correlation between temperature change and atmospheric CO2 over the last 450,000 years. If the temperature continues to rise in accordance with current CO2 levels, then we're going to see some dramatic changes to our habitat. Just to put that in perspective, humans have only been on the planet for around 200,000 years, so we have never seen conditions like those currently being modeled by climate scientists. What is considered a safe level of atmospheric carbon? According to the United Nations IPCC, this is somewhere around 350 parts per million. That's around 60 ppm that need to be removed from the atmosphere, which equates to approximately 450 billion tons of CO2 equivalents. We're gonna need this number in just a minute, so let's put it over in the corner here. How much of this can be sequestered into the soil? The answer is, we don't know. What we do know, however, is that it is possible to sequester in excess of 10 tons per hectare per year, and possibly as much as 20 tons per hectare per year, as demonstrated by Dr. David Johnson at New Mexico State University, who has been successfully restoring the soil food web. Yes, this is cutting-edge research, but with more investment, this could possibly become achievable worldwide quite quickly. Humans manage approximately 5 billion hectares worldwide, so based on 20 tons per hectare per year, that equates to 100 billion tons per year. Total greenhouse gas emissions for the entire planet in 2019 were around 37 billion tons. About 50% of emissions get absorbed by natural processes, according to research by NOAA, leaving around 20 billion tons in the atmosphere. So if we did nothing else but regenerated the world's soils, we could potentially sequester about 80 billion tons per year. 450 billion tons divided by 80 billion tons per year means that we could theoretically get back to 350 parts per million, the safe level, within 6 years, just by regenerating the world's soils. Of course, we cannot do that overnight. Allowing time for global implementation, 10 to 15 years is a more realistic time frame. If you factor in reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, the picture begins to look far more optimistic. The bottom line is that this could be a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to fighting climate change. For more information about the numerous benefits of the soil food web and how you can get involved, visit soilfoodweb.com.